but I do want to bring in former FBI agent James Fitzgerald, FBI criminal profiler. He played a critical role in catching the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski. Big news coming out of this news conference tonight, Jim. 25-minute recording that he made on his phone. Obviously, that is the manifesto, the explanation that everybody has been looking for, but we didn't learn a whole lot about, we learned what he didn't say. Nothing about terrorism, nothing about hate, and the chief of police said that it was an outcry of a challenged young man that focused on his personal life. Your thoughts?
Sure, Martha, and we've heard this before, even with school shooters or snipers. These people have individual, long-term problems, psychological issues, and if they have access to a gun, they may use that. If they have access to bomb-making materials, they'll utilize that. If it's driving a truck into a crowd, they'll utilize that. But boy, I'll tell you, the more I'm hearing today about this guy, he so fits the description of a classic serial bomber or serial sniper. Look, Cho at Virginia Tech, he sent off videotapes to a news network of explaining why he did what he did. When we went inside Kaczynski's cabin in Montana in 1996, there were long missives, journals, autobiographies explaining every part of his bombs and how he did it and why he did it. A guy in Utah and in Illinois in 2006, he wrote letters to chiefs of police why he set off 2 different bombs, explaining how they were constructed. Eric Rudolph did the same thing with his Army of God letters. So it's almost like these guys are following a script one after another, but it has to do with deep-rooted psychological issues that they don't know how to manifest them in other ways. They have to kill people.
And clearly he wants to, indicate his intelligence in some way, right? All of them want to explain, this is how I did it. This is how I got away with it. This is how I crafted it. And the chief talked about the fact that he detailed each of the devices that he made, the differences between each of those devices, which was also, we hope, helpful if he was truthful about the number of devices that he built.
Yeah, let's hope it's that exact number. It sounds like there were other components in his room. And again, that's no surprise. I've worked other serial offender cases, maybe rapists, killers, whatever. They would have a separate room or a big trunk in the basement that was under lock and key and no one could go in. So I'm not giving any defenses to the 2 roommates here. Maybe they should have seen something or said something, but it's also possible these items of death that were components to make these bombs were somehow even hidden within that room itself, which was perhaps under lock and key.
Yeah, I would expect that in the coming days, hours and days, although we have heard him portrayed as quiet, polite, someone who was loved by his family, that through social media, through these writings, we're going to learn more about why he was described as a challenged young man with a deep personal problem.
Well, as they say, still water runs deep, and but on the surface, you may not notice something right away, but just a few inches or few feet down, there are these lingering, ongoing problems that only his family will know. And upon undertaking a psychological autopsy, which is what the profilers and behavioral folks, my former teammates at the FBI, is what they're doing right now. They're trying to do everything to get into what influenced this guy. Who does he talk to? What TV shows? What movies does he watch? What's he read? What's he downloading online? What's he researching on the computer? These are going to paint a pretty vivid picture of this guy, and hopefully we'll have that in a few weeks or a month or 2.
In terms of the victims and the targets, we did not learn a lot from the chief. And as I said, if he's answering questions, we're going to go back. Anthony House, Draylon Mason, both killed by these bombs. Esperanza Herrera, 75-year-old woman who's in critical condition, and then the 2 other young men who were on their bikes. In terms of whether or not he specifically targeted them, whether the address was what was on the box, that's a big question still here, Jim.
It is, and we'll have to determine this down the line. I still say victimology in any one of these cases can be important, and they're going to have to keep looking into any nexus or connections between the people, the victims, and the bomber himself. That's no surprise. That it wouldn't be surprising if, in fact, there is some kind of a linkage. In fact, I think the bomber lived in the same town where Mr. House used to live, the victim from March 2nd. So is there a connection there through that town? Who knows? We may find this out before long.
Jim Fitzgerald, thank you very much. Good to talk to you tonight, sir.
Thank you, Martha.
You bet.